The Dragon Ball franchise has left an indelible mark on manga and anime with its expansive world building and intriguing characters. However, in the streak of successes, there have been a few hiccups. One of the cases of massive failure was the 1994 Dragon Ball Bio Broly movie, which is regarded as one of the most bizarre films in the franchise. In this video, we'll dive into the intricacies of Dragon Ball Bio Broly, examining the storyline, the character of Bio Broly, and its place in the Dragon Ball universe. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Is Bio Broly a clone of Broly? How was it created? The Dragon Ball Bio Broly film follows the events of Dragon Ball Z Broly's Second Coming and serves as a sequel to Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan. It begins in a biochemical laboratory, where a few scientists, under the guidance of Dr. Kali, are involved in malicious experimentations on humanoids. The whole experiment is funded by Mr. Jaguar, who intends to expose the strongest man in the world, Mr. Satan. A businessman named Men arrives at Mr. Satan's house while he is being harassed by Android 18 for the payment of purposely losing in a world martial arts tournament. Krillin, Trunks, and Goten are also present in the estate and get curious about Men's intention. Men invites Mr. Satan to fight with his summer camp rival Mr. Jaguar on an island, and Mr. Satan has to agree as the businessman holds leverage against him. He knows that Mr. Satan was a bedwetter at that summer camp and threatens to go to the media with this spicy tabloid rumor. Mr. Satan agrees to pay Android 18 if she fights on his behalf, while Trunks and Goten secretly follow them to the island. On the island, the eccentric billionaire Mr. Jaguar unleashes his genetically engineered bio-warriors on Mr. Satan. But as we the viewers are well aware, Mr. Satan isn't even close to being the strongest man on Earth, he's just a performance artist. So he begs Android 18 to step forward, and the former villain takes a handful of bio-warriors down. While all this non-complicated fighting is going on in the main arena, Trunks and Goten get a chance to sneak around the place and find out more about the experiments that are happening. Trunks explains to Goten about bioengineering and how a humanoid can be created by a single cell. He probably heard Bulma talking about it at some point, but all that advanced science jargon surely impressed Goten and a female scientist on the island. This was all fun and games until the mini Super Saiyan duo discovered a tank with a humanoid tail. On closer examination, it's revealed that the bioengineered specimen is none other than the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, who was supposed to be dead as Goku, Gohan, and Goten annihilated him during his last rampage. The duo confronts a familiar shaman who reveals that after Broly was killed, he took a sample of the legendary Super Saiyan's blood and took it to Jaguar for a handsome amount of money. The billionaire, with the aid of his scientists, used the sample to create Bio Broly, a bio-warrior version of the terrifying villain, to fight against Mr. Satan. This act of sheer stupidity put the existence of the entire universe in danger, as there's no telling what this monster is capable of. And now it's up to the mini Saiyans to stop his rampage in the absence of their fathers, mentors, and friends. How many powers of Broly does Bio Broly possess? Can it go Legendary Super Saiyan? Broly is one of the most powerful characters in the Dragon Ball multiverse, strong enough to take down Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Vegeta in his Legendary Super Saiyan form. He already had incredible strength and stamina, but in the Berserker form, he loses himself in the fury and rage and unleashes a monster. His rampage makes everyone around him vulnerable, and any sort of contact with him, if you aren't a legendary warrior, would mean certain death. In the Bio-Warrior form, Broly retained some original powers while also losing some of his unique abilities. Bio Broly is mostly a mindless monster. He fights mostly on impulse and lacks the muscle memory that the real Broly has. That is because Broly has been through many rough battles and has developed muscle memory and fighting out of his experiences. Bio Broly is like an infant beast fighting for survival and dodging every attack coming his way. Meloja, the shaman who got the blood sample of Broly to create the Bio-Warrior clone, described him as the upgraded version of Broly, as he is the combination of the legendary Super Saiyan and biotechnology. However, since this monstrosity is eventually defeated by Super Saiyan Trunks and Goten, it would not be wrong to say that his words didn't have merit and were said out of impulse to frighten the children. Bio Broly lacked speed and stamina, something that Broly was known for. Despite this, the Bio-Warrior fought with the same intensity and recklessness. He was able to transform into the legendary Super Saiyan form after blasting out of the water tank and retained it for the rest of the film, although his legendary Super Saiyan form is much weaker and didn't become as dangerous as the originals. He fought Android 18 without breaking a sweat and went on to mercilessly manhandle both Goten and Trunks at the same time. Their bald friend Krillin tried to intervene using his Destructo Disc and hit Bio Broly with a clean strike, almost severing his neck, but the warrior was able to quickly regenerate this wound. Throughout most of the film, Bio Broly is in a syrupy form, and he looks like a big pile of goo with 2 glowing red eyes. He's still in his legendary Super Saiyan form, but only a little blonde hair is on display, and the rest of his body becomes green with a few sections of red on his chest that pulsate like a heart occasionally. He also changes his form, becoming a giant in the last section of the movie. Why did Bio Broly turn into a Swamp Thing-like monster upon awakening? Can this be reversed? In the Dragon Ball universe, transformations are a relatively common occurrence, often driven by intense emotion, extensive training, or external influences. The swamp-like transformation of Broly upon awakening is mostly a result of scientific experimentation by Mr. Jaguar's team at May Queen Castle. When Trunks and Goten discover him in the water tank, he's still going through the recovery procedure, and the experimentation isn't complete. If this wasn't the case, then he would have been fighting Android 18 and Mr. Satan in the arena with the other Bio Warriors. He prematurely burst out of the incubation tank, which resulted in his body being deformed, giving him a zombie-like look. Bio Broly's swamp-like form can also be attributed to coming in contact with culture fluid. It's a liquid that is harmless when contained, but becomes corrosive when it comes into contact with air, gaining acidic properties. It melts everything in its way, including the dog, scientists, and Bio Warriors when spilled out accidentally by Broly when he busted out of his incubation tank. The scientists attempted to control the culture fluid by putting up barriers around Bio Broly, but the legendary Super Saiyan proved to be too powerful to be stopped by human-made barriers. He shattered them, exposing everything on the island to culture fluid and everyone to his wrath. While the scientists, animals, and Bio Warriors were being melted and absorbed by the culture fluid, the Mini Saiyans, Android 18, and later Krillin had to fight Bio Broly to stop him from killing everything around them. His new form proved to be formidable, somewhere between a human and a mecha with no emotion or purpose, other than destruction and violence, that is. In the film, he further transforms into a giant, but there is no reversal of his swamp-like form. However, the transformations and reversal of transformation is a storytelling decision and mostly at the disposal of the writers. But reversing a transformation like Bio Broly's would require a significant narrative arc or a specific plot device to accomplish within the context of the story. What makes Bio Broly more of a threat than the original? Bio Broly looks menacing, but he's not a conscious being like the original who could be talked to, manipulated, or confused. Upon awakening, Bio Broly transforms into a grotesque swamp-like creature due to a malfunction in the cloning process, and as a Bio Warrior, his consciousness is not fully developed, making him more of a mindless monster driven by instinct. The scientific enhancements through bioengineering enhance the durability of the warrior, giving him immense power and regeneration abilities, but it also made him uncontrollable and unstable. The transformation into an unpredictable swamp-like creature gives Bio Broly more of an unpredictable and ferocious appearance, adding to his intimidation factor. The lack of control adds to his unpredictability, as he becomes a bandit refusing to obey the orders of Mr. Jaguar, something that the other Bio Warriors had no problem doing. Another dangerous capability that Bio Broly possesses is his immunity to exposed culture fluid. When everything and everyone melted away in the culture fluid, the legendary Super Saiyan merged to survive the initial contact after bursting the open incubation tank, and at the end of the movie, he even seemed to merge with the fluid, undergoing culture fluid absorption gigantification and converting into a giant swamp monster. If it was not for the solidifying nature of culture fluid when it comes into contact with water, Bio Broly could have been unstoppable, rampaging throughout the planet and decimating the population. The insane durability and unpredictability made Bio Broly a more menacing and dangerous threat than the original. What is Bio Broly's only weakness? How does it make him one of the weakest DBZ movie villains? As we mentioned, Bio Broly is a formidable fighter with zombie-esque consciousness and beastly survival instincts, but he has a big ol' vulnerability that was exposed by the end of the film, Dragon Ball Z, Bio Broly, when the island was covered in culture fluid, claiming dozens of lives. The Z-Fighters had to escort everyone to safety while fighting with the Super Saiyan Bio Warrior. Trunks, Goten, and Krillin hit him with the triple Kamehameha wave, drenching him in the culture fluid. While he was down, the Z-Fighters discovered that the culture fluid becomes solid when in contact with seawater. This not only saves the life of Mr. Satan and others who had escaped into the sea to avoid being melted and absorbed, but also exposes the weakness of Bio Broly's culture fluid absorption gigantification form. When exposed to salt water, Bio Broly's body begins to dissolve rapidly, causing him to lose his physical form and ultimately disintegrate. This weakness makes Bio Broly one of the weakest Dragon Ball Z movie villains because it provides a relatively simple and straightforward method to defeat him. Unlike many other villains in the Dragon Ball Z universe who possess multiple layers of defense or require complex strategies to defeat, Bio Broly's weakness to salt water offers a relatively easy solution. Another simple hack to defeat Bio Broly is to exploit his lack of intelligence and lack of control. He doesn't possess the intellect and strategic fighting ability of the original Legendary Super Saiyan. This further diminishes his threat level compared to other villains who possess strategic thinking and cunning. While he may be physically powerful and possess impressive regeneration abilities, his inability to utilize these strengths effectively due to his mindless nature makes him less formidable overall. Bio Broly's weakness to salt water, combined with his lack of intelligence and control and inability to harness his full power, contributes to his status as one of the weaker villains in the Dragon Ball Z movie franchise. Dragon Ball Z Bio Broly is often considered one of the worst Dragon Ball films of all time, and Bio Broly himself is just an unnecessary copy of the beloved Legendary Super Saiyan. However, despite all the hate and criticism, there is some merit to the film. This particular story lets the characters of Android 18 and Krillin have some much-needed screen time, and it also provides a platform for the young Saiyans to come out of their father's shadows and take on a challenge like Bio Broly themselves. Marvelous verdict! Bio Broly might not rank with the classic villains of the Dragon Ball saga, but his presence sure did make a lasting impact on screen. I mean, we're talking about him after 20 years. The character's unique design, formidable abilities, and critical weakness have sparked discussions and debates within the fan community. Despite his many shortcomings, Bio Broly remains a memorable antagonist, providing a unique challenge for the young Saiyans to overcome, adding to the arsenal of their experience. As we, the audience, know that everything comes back to life in the Dragon Ball universe, both Trunks and Goten, in their brawl with the Bio Warrior, gained some much-needed life skills for future challenges, and a story of triumph to impress their fathers, or at least one of their fathers, probably not Vegeta. Anyways, we want to know your thoughts on the film. Did the character of Bio Broly stick the landing, or did he crash and burn? Share your opinion in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and keep watching Marvelous Anime for more marvelous content.